Star Wars Episode 9 cast includes Mark Hamill, Billy D. Williams and the late Carrie Fisher. That is the headline of this week's Force Friday show. And joining me as ever is Stephen to discuss all things Star Wars. What the hell do you make of that, Stephen? Are you shocked?
As part of it, I'm actually, John. It's just ironic. This actually dropped late on Friday night. I think it was last week after we did our last show. So this news has been doing the rounds for about a week now. We're just looking at the actual Collider website here, who did the report on this, but it's all over the internet in regards to. We already spoke about Billy D. Williams last week returning as the iconic Lando Calrissian. 95% of me was pretty sure Mark Hamill was going to return in some form as Luke Skywalker, and the biggest surprise of all is, of course, the late Carrie Fisher will appear in the final episode of the Skywalker saga using archive footage. Now, we already knew that they were not going to use CG or recast, but I'm very much in the camp that I think it would have did the character a disservice to have a footnote in that opening crawl to say that she is passed on or whatever. I think that would have been a travesty. I'm glad they're using archival footage. It's not a technique I really support, but this is the final episode, the final story of the Skywalker saga, and not to have General Leia Organa Skywalker, whatever you want to call her, Leia Organa Skywalker Solo, I don't know what she's called, but not to have her in that, it would be terrible. I kind of thought that Mark Hamill would return. He's been very quiet on the subject of late, had a shave and the internet had a meltdown. But I did think he would be coming back as a Force Ghost. There is some theories about how much we'll get into as well, how his character's going to play out as well. And it kind of gives more of a better angle and a better reason for Lando Calrissian to turn up as well in this final chapter. I know that when this trilogy was announced, they did state that the original cast members were going to be supporting the new members of the cast, and I got that. But I think Lucasfilm has since realised that they do depend on these characters a lot more than they thought, and it's good to see that the brother-sister will be back, Luke and Leia, and joining them as their old friend Lando Calrissian. It's just good to see, and I can see that Anthony Daniels is going to come back as well. It wouldn't be the same without Tony Daniels, to be fair.
Yeah, what amazes me is the ordering of those names there, Stephen. You've got Billy D. Williams at number 1, Mark Hamill, Anthony Daniels, and then Carrie Fisher. It's not the way I'd have ordered it. I'd have had Mark Hamill at number 1, Carrie Fisher, Billy D. Williams, and then Anthony Daniels. That's the way the pecking order is in Star Wars, my man. Not that way. But what the hell do I make of it? Am I surprised? I'm not surprised in the least about either of these characters popping back up in Episode 9. You said you were 95% sure. I was about 99% sure that Luke Skywalker would be back. There's just no way that he couldn't have come back after the backlash about the handling of his character in Episode 8, The Last Jedi. It'd have been suicide for Lucasfilm and J.J. Abrams if they were not to bring him back. The only question now is, what form is he going to come back as? Is he going to be a Force Ghost? Is he going to be alive? Is it going to be a flashback? Are we going to see another vision, one of Rey's visions, where it doesn't really mean anything in the long run? Because, of course, in The Force Awakens, we heard these are your first steps, Rey, from Obi-Wan. Then it turns out she's a nobody who'd never met Obi-Wan in her life, so why the hell was he talking to her? Is it going to be one of those visions again? Doubt it. I'm swaying between the first two, Force Ghost and maybe still being alive. I think there's probably a 70-30% chance that he's a Force Ghost and still alive, although time will tell when we get to see more shots of the sets and stuff, if indeed we do, because it's JJ who's running this ship, and he runs a very tight ship indeed when it comes to security. Obviously the mystery box that he's famed for, that is a passion of his. He believes it's the only way to watch and experience film. You know the least about what is going on as possible, then you'll get the most enjoyment out of it, and he's right. But it's not good for us because we like to speculate on these things. Carrie Fisher, I'm not surprised she's back as well. As you did say, Stephen, you can't put a character like that on the footnote at the beginning of a film and just say, oh, she's dead and that's it. That would be insensitive. It'd be disrespectful to a character that's traversed 3 trilogies now. You couldn't have recast her. We've already seen the backlash towards that, although everyone in Star Wars and backlashes about something in some shape or the other. I'm not surprised she's back. It's just, again, how they're going to utilise this archival footage into it and make it cohesive and organic. I presume they've all the parties involved have seen this footage. They're happy enough with the way it's looking, the way she's looking, the way her dialogue works into the story, and they've decided, listen, we can make this work. And I've seen some people saying it's disrespectful, it's the wrong thing to do, obviously because she's passed away, but it's not like they've just went behind her family's back, her daughter's back, and says, no, we're using this, screw yous. And they've went and sought her permission. She's granted it, and I'm delighted to see she's going to get a send-off in some shape or form. In terms of Billy Dee Williams, we knew about him anyway. And Anthony Daniels, as you said, I do like to have a little dig at Anthony every now and again, but I don't mind the chat because he seems a nice guy. He seems my type of guy. He's quite witty, and he does like to fire in some sarcastic put-downs every now and then, so that's much like me. Some of the other additions, I'm not surprised about Daisy Ridley coming back. She has to be back. Adam Driver as well. It'd be bizarre if Kylo Ren disappeared. John Boyega, don't see the point in bringing them back after they butchered his character in The Last Jedi, but he's back anyway. Oscar Isaac. Peter and Nyong'o's an interesting one for me because I'm not really sure what they can do now with the character of Maz Kanata, but I'm sure they'll play that into Billy Dee Williams, Lando Calrissian in some way or the other. The other interesting ones to me would be Richard E. Grant, Kerry Russell and Naomi Ackie. I'm kind of getting sidetracked here. We were originally going to be talking about just Carrie and Mark. I'm going to often break down the whole cast here, Stephen. But yeah, we'll get into that once I let you back in. You can maybe give me your thoughts on Richard E. Grant. Who the hell do you think he's playing? Is he going to play a villain? I think it's almost certain, because we do tend to find that the English or British chaps play the villainous roles. Certainly Domhnall Gleeson, and throughout the history of Star Wars that's been the case. Naomi Ackie, I don't know who she can be playing, Stephen. People say maybe she's Lando's daughter because that's what they like to do. We get a black character, must be connected to the other black characters. If you remember, we got that with Finn back in the day. Kerry Russell, been a lot of speculation that she could be Mara Jade or an older Ashoka Tano. Who do you think, and what do you think of these people coming on?
Yeah, don't forget our Uncle Mace as well.
Uncle Mace,
yeah.
yes.
I think I'm delighted with the casting of Richard E. Grant. You know, I've always been a fan of him. Going back to 1987 film with Neil and I. But, you know, he's played some offbeat characters as well, in the likes of playing Darwin Mayflower and Hudson Hawk as well. And more recently...
And he was in Spice World, Stephen, we can't forget that.
Yeah, he plays Clifford.
Yes.
More recently, he appeared in Logan. He was the villain. I've got to be honest, he wasn't the best villain I thought they could have conjured up for Hugh Jackman's finale as that character, but he did an okay job. I think his characteristics would suit coming in to this franchise as part of the First Order. I think he's got all the right characteristics for it. He's a different actor to Domhnall Gleeson. I think that character was done a disservice in The Last Jedi. They made him a sort of joke figure. Can you imagine them doing that with Moff Tarkin, you know, in the Empire Strikes Back, after what we saw of him in New Hope? But there is some theories kicking about that Richard E. Grant could be playing Thrawn. He's certainly got the right shape for it. He's certainly got the right hairline for it as well. And the other actress that you mentioned, John, Kerry Russell, she's done such a variety of roles. More notably for myself was her doing the voice of Wonder Woman in the Wonder Woman animated film from the DC series that I reviewed a few months ago. And it's good to see that there's further actors coming on board, but it's good to see that they're coming back to the likes of the Daisy Ridleys, Adam Drivers, John Boyegas and Oscar Isaacs. I just hope that they give John Boyega a more meatier role this time. I think his character had so much promise in The Force Awakens. The whole sequences on The Last Jedi and Canto Bight and stuff like that was just, you might as well just delete that from the film because it was just so pointless. And when you've got an actor as talented as John Boyega, you want to use him to his full potential. I don't think they did that in The Last Jedi. I understood that it wasn't his story at this point, but they could have done a bit better with him as one of the big three from the new trilogy. But it's good to see that we're going to see Leia back in her final film. We're going to see Luke in some kind of form, whether that's going to be flashback, whether it's going to be Force Ghost, or we're going to actually see Luke in the flesh again. Who knows? or as you said, it could be one of these sequences that don't mean anything. I hope it's not. I think that would be terrible. That would really just be rubbing salt into the wound after his handling in the last film, to make it even worse. But this is good news. We spoke about the Clone Wars animated news was brilliant news from Lucasfilm last week. This news has just topped it really for me. It's about time that Star Wars and Lucasfilm started getting back to doing what they do best, and that's exciting the fans rather than depressing the fans.
Yes, and the other exciting thing, Stephen, is that the film is now, I believe, in production, so we're going to get some news coming out by the day, hopefully, that we can talk about. I've just had a bit of an epiphany, much like that Liam Gallagher moment in that recent documentary where he says he get hit over the head with a hammer and had a musical epiphany. I've not been hit with a hammer, but I slapped myself in the face there when you were talking, and I get an epiphany. I've changed my mind on Luke completely here. I think that he will be a Force Ghost in the main, but I think there will be a flashback sequence in there, and I do believe that Kerry Russell, I think that they will. I mean, we were talking about this before we came on, Stephen. You said you didn't want to see Mara Jade. I think she could be playing Mara Jade, a younger version of Mara Jade, in a flashback and having some time with Luke. I think they could maybe de-age him. Also, he's an older man and she's much younger than him, but they could do the Benjamin Button treatment on him and make him younger. I keep saying Benjamin Button, but that wasn't the best example. The Michael Douglas treatment, exactly, or the Kurt Russell treatment, because I love Kurt so much. I keep mentioning the guy all the time. But yeah, I think those two, I think that there's a chance that she could be Mara Jade. I've seen people saying that she may be playing Ahsoka Tano, but I think the better fit, if they were to bring that character in, would be Naomi Aki. I don't think she is going to be playing Ahsoka Tano. Somebody in a group that I'm in did do the maths on the age of her, and I think she would work out to about 70, so she could be alive at the moment in that time period. Whether Naomi Aki is going to be aged up and play an older Ahsoka Tano, I don't know, but certainly the features seem to marry better with Ahsoka than Kerry Russell's. It's all speculation, Stephen. But I do think that Maz Kanata, played obviously by the smashing Lupita Nyong'o, I think she is going to have a big role to play in maybe connecting with Lando Calrissian. I think she deserves to have a bigger role than what she's had in The Last Jedi. I think she will have quite a large part to play in bringing maybe Lando into the story. Or maybe Leia gets put into hiding, she has to go away and hide for her safety, and this ushers Lando into the scenes. I don't know, it's all speculation, but we're going to move on, Stephen, because we really are scraping the bottom of the barrel with that topic. Right into another topic, all about episode 9. This is going to be a prevailing theme this week, because we've got nothing else to talk about. And this is from Forbes, and they discuss where the hell Star Wars episode 9 is going to end, and they give us some predictions, and I'm going to read these predictions out and get you to, well, not all of them, because we'll be here all night, but I'll give you some predictions and see what the hell you make of them all, Stephen. Legacy and heritage mean nothing is number 1. And they discuss Rey's strong Force abilities breaking the serious emphasis on Force-sensitive lineages. Well, that is only true if what Kylo told her in The Last Jedi is indeed the truth. As we do know, he's a bit of a snake, a sleek at getting. He does have a propensity for telling lies. So if what he says is true about parentage, then yes, we'll be breaking from lineages. And indeed, it may mean after episode 9 that heritage and lineage and legacy means nothing in Star Wars. What the hell do you make of that?
I think there could be a bit of truth in this, John. As depressing as it does sound, I think we've got to come to the point where the Skywalker saga has to end at some point. It can't go on forever. Going back to the end of The Force Awakens, just after watching The Force Awakens, I think most of us were hoping Rey was some connection to Luke or Han. But at the end of the day, I think the Skywalker saga is going to die with Luke and Leia. And it's quite fitting in a way when you think about it. You know, I think that over 9 films, we've had this this family story starting from Anakin through to Luke and Leia, and Ben Solo as well. Although some might argue that he's not a Skywalker, but there's obviously the bloodline is there, and I think it's a good point to wrap things up with this particular storyline if they really want to move on. I don't think they'll want to leave anything hanging around. I think they'll want to make sure there's closure on this episode. Whether they can do that in the 2 hours, 2.5 hours, whatever this is going to be, remains to be seen. I think if they cut out things like casino scenes, they certainly can fit all this in. But I think this is going to be a big part of it. As I said, it does sound a bit depressing, but it does make sense as well from a story point of view and from Lucasfilm's business point of view, because with Rian Johnson's trilogy still looming, it's not going to have any connection to the original saga films. It's going to be a new trilogy. It's going to be set in a different time, a different place, and I think they'll want to have a clean break on this, and I think they will kill the lineage in this movie. I think it will end with Luke and Leia as the last of the Skywalkers.
Certainly when you look at the Last Jedi, Stephen, they did throw the lineage of formal tutelage and training, as they do say in this article, right out the window, because Rey doesn't need training. She's already powerful enough. Certainly Kylo doesn't really need training either, because he was meant to go and meet Snoke and complete his training. He never does do it. Clearly he doesn't need it either. And you see when the lightsaber breaks in 2, they do say that as well, that is a visual metaphor of that they don't need the lineage, and in fact rejecting it completely. So I think I agree with you. I think they will go down that route, sad as it is. The next one though kind of goes into Canto Bight, the much criticised Canto Bight. It says that this may be the key to episode 9 and beyond, and that it explores the super rich gits within the Canto Bight casino who are outside of the conflicts and the struggles we see throughout the other saga films. They're just sitting, gambling and having fun in their little roulette tables, not got a care in the world, but at the same time they're selling stuff to either side and maybe having a little laugh and joke at it all. So it's kind of that's an interesting concept they're putting out here. Is the arc we've seen in Canto Bight going to be important moving forward? Are we going to focus more on these super rich and bringing them to task? Certainly they don't in real life, so if that's anything to go by, they're going to get off scot-free. What do you think on that?
I was just going to say, John, it's very close to real life as it comes anyway, this kind of situation with governments, etc., you know, living off the fat of the land. I don't know. I think that'd be too politically heavy. I don't think it would make a great story, to be honest with you. I think it would. If you thought the politics in the Phantom Menace were boring, this would take the biscuit. I can't really see any. I can't really see any depth to this, to be honest with you. I think that's really scraping the bottom of the barrel. I think it's hinted already in The Last Jedi, the situation between sort of outsiders, certainly outside of the Canto Bight type of people, the clientele there. We don't really have to really dig more deeper into that scenario or any storylines going in there with the super rich and being brought to task and all that. This is just a fact of life. That's the way it is. Certainly that's the way it is in this world anyway. And I don't think it would make a great story. It'd be pretty depressing. We've got to remember Star Wars is trying to take us away from all this. You know, we don't really want to be reminded of all these things that happen. But no, I don't see there's any weight in this at all.
No, neither do I, and I would rather hope they don't go down that route. I'd like to see them just focusing on a more carefree adventure story we've got before. It's a space opera after all. We don't want to be getting bogged down with all this crap. It's an interesting concept, maybe for another film, no, but not Star Wars for me. They do say in the next point a galactic rebellion of 99% of a 99% and how they could topple them and stuff like that, but we've touched on that, so we're not going to get into that much more. The next one that I want to really bring up is the search for Force users. Do you expect there to be a new generation of Force users unhampered by the strict norms of the traditional Jedi Order? And indeed, will Rey or Leia have a hand in training these? Or will Luke have a hand in training them? What the hell do you think? Do you think we're going to see Force users in a new form? Because obviously in The Last Jedi, Luke tried to destroy the sacred texts. Rey, incidentally, went away from them, so I don't know how that would play in, but what do you make?
I think Rey's position in this movie is going to be similar to Luke's in Return of the Jedi. I think that Luke is going to be the Yoda of this film. He's going to certainly be guiding Rey. I'm not so much sure about Leia. Leia seems a more reluctant Force user. She certainly used it when she was blasted out of that window. For obvious reasons, you know, she just wasn't trying to show off or anything like that. She was trying to save her life. But I don't think we're going to see too much on other Force users. I think, again, that was already hinted in The Last Jedi, that there was other Force users out there. A classic case of Broom Kid or Broom Boy, whatever you want to call him. So to really go back there and you know, re-emphasise that, it's just silly. And it's, you know, you've only got a couple of hours to tell a story. You're really wasting time doing that. I don't think that's going to be. I think I think Rey's going to be very isolated in this movie again. This time, learning more from Luke, learning more from the text as well. I think we're going to see a more mature character in her now. Very much the way that Mark Hamill portrayed Luke. When you see the difference in him in A New Hope to Return of the Jedi, that progression is there. There certainly hasn't been that progression with Rey so far. I think they're going to have to do it in this one. They're going to have to see a more mature Jedi in her character, and I think that's what we'll see. I don't think they're going to waste time too much on other Force users. They might mention it out there, but I don't think she's going to have an academy or anything like that teaching all these younglings the ways of the Force.
No, neither do I, Stephen. I do suspect we will get a new form of Force user in this film, because it will be a time jump. I'm sure there'll be other Force users. You'll need them, I would imagine, to overpower Kylo. And I would hope his Order of Ren, who we've still not seen anything of in 2 films into the trilogy. So I hope they pop up and we see these other Force users thrust into the action. I don't know who the hell would be training her. I would imagine she'll be using the sacred Jedi texts in conjunction with Luke to bring herself up. Although by the time we see her, she may even be a master. We don't know how far on it's going to jump. But the next little points I'm going to jump on to, Steve, it's going to be a combination 3 in 1. And these are: do you think the First Order will be racing against a ragtag coalition of splinter groups from the Outer Rim that may include Lando's, Maz Kanata's friends and whatever, and obviously the Resistance themselves? Do you think Kylo Ren's emotions will be his downfall in this film, and that will be how Rey will be able to take him down? And finally, do you think this film will end, and indeed the trilogy will end, with the Resistance found in a new republic, or the First Order found in a new galactic empire? Or do you think there'll be any political winner out of this? You think it could maybe end in a draw and we go into another trilogy to flesh out, to battle out for dominance?
The politics will remain, John. They'll remain even after this film's finished. That will remain, because that is the theme throughout Star Wars: religion and politics. Something that you don't really want to talk about that often, but that is the theme in most Star Wars films anyway, and that will remain. This is really about tying up loose ends with the Skywalker saga and the characters within this saga. So the politics will remain. As far as Kylo Ren goes, I think he's beyond emotional conflict now. As we recall in those final scenes on Crate, show no mercy, I think, was one of the things he said, and that was him relating that to his mother. The relationship with Rey as well, where he's trying so hard to get her to join him. That's beyond repair at that point as well, especially when you see Rey close that hangar door basically on his face through their FaceTiming. All those doors are closed now as far as Kylo Ren goes. I think he's beyond redemption now. I'd be very surprised if he was redeemed in this film now, after all the chaos and carnage that he's caused in the last 2 films. But then again, Mr. Vader did the same thing, didn't he? Yeah. But this is a different scenario altogether. Rian Johnson really emphasised this point on those scenes in Crate where he was ready to kill Luke because he thought Luke was standing in front of him, and he does say that I'm pretty sure he does say I'll kill her after I finish with you. I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing, but he does have that. He is at that point in his life now that he's not coming back from, and I don't know how it's going to end. I really don't think that his emotions are going to be his downfall now. I think it's going to be a case of Rey being the better student.
Yeah, I think it'll be a case of Rey having better mentorship as well, Stephen. She's been taught by a better man. Yeah. Snoke, for all his power and his fake majesty, he's not better than Luke Skywalker. He was the ultimate Force user by the Last Jedi, and I'm sure he'll impart the wisdom he has onto her. And in conjunction, again, I'm using that word, with the sacred Jedi text, I'm sure she'll be well versed in all things Force and Jedi by the time they finally meet again. I'm sure there will be a final meeting at the end of episode 9. I don't think it'll be his emotions that'll bring him down. I think it'll just be his overconfidence and his arrogance. He's very brash and he jumps headlong into things without thinking. So that is going to be his undoing. I'm pretty damn sure of it. In terms of the ragtag coalition, I do think that's the route they'll go down. I think they will. We will see the First Order facing off against a ragtag coalition of the Resistance and various other splinter groups from the Outer Rim, probably headed up by Lando and Maz, as I did say previously. be very surprised if it's not that, because I know there's going to be a time jump, but the Resistance were pretty much wiped out. They didn't have much of a fleet left. There was maybe 24 people left of the Resistance, so they're going to need help from somewhere, and I'm sure this is the way they'll bring Lando into the story. I'm still convinced that Poe will be leading the Resistance come episode 9, because we are going to get archival footage of Leia, but it's not going to be enough for her to can maintain a leadership role. In terms of the end state, I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know who's going to rise. You would think it would be the Resistance, but that's just what we get in every single Star Wars trilogy. We get one side rising up and defeating the other, and then establishing a new order. And it's been done to the death, so I would like to see them maybe go a different route. We don't see we maybe see the Resistance win, but they don't establish complete dominance. There's still some form of First Order or bad guy out there to continue on to a potential new trilogy. Obviously, it's not going to be a Skywalker saga after that, but if they want to maintain the saga story in its current format, they're going to have some element of badness there. So I wouldn't like to see a galactic empire or a new republic, because it's pretty clear that they're just doomed to fail no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, they're either going to end it on the same way they ended Revenge of the Sith, where the bad guys were on the rise, but at the same time, the good guys, the rebellion, had hope in the Skywalker twins, or they could go down the sugar-coated route of Return of the Jedi, and they can all have a little dance on Endor at the end of it. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how. I mean, J.J. Abrams has got a tough gig here, and how he's going to wrap this up, because he's following on from George Lucas's original trilogy, his prequel trilogy. He's not a stranger to that. He certainly followed on from it with Episode 7 anyway, but this is wrapping things up. We all know that J.J. Abrams is very good at setting things up, rebooting franchises. He did it very well with Star Trek. It remains to be seen if he can conclude this franchise and handle it well, and it's going to be very hard really to please all Star Wars fans. That's the hardest thing he's going to have to do, is make sure the majority of Star Wars fans are satisfied. He's also got the burden of making sense of The Last Jedi as well, in regards to making people appreciate that chapter of the story as well, because a lot of people who talk Star Wars are still holding out that The Last Jedi could become a different story in regards to how you view it after this movie, but that remains to be seen. But I would not like to be J.J. Abrams, I've got to be honest with you.
And that just brings us to the end of this week's episode of the Force Friday show, where we talk all things Star Wars, in this case very much episode 9 centric. We'd just like to thank you for listening to us once again, and we'll be back next week.
Remember guys, if you enjoyed that episode, then do hit that like button, comment below, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you want to follow us on social media for all the latest updates from Movie Burner Entertainment, then we can be found on Twitter and Facebook at Movie Burners. You can also listen to us on Google Play and iTunes at the Movie Burner Podcast. And last but not least, if you want to access all the latest written reviews and the occasional article, then that can be found on our website at movieburnerentertainment.org. Until the next time, goodbye.